Hi, welcome to your number one aviation and tourism TV show, Mamaj TV. My name is Joy Ogbebo. Hi, welcome to your number one aviation and tourism TV show, Mamaj TV. My name is Joy Ogbebo. On our show today, I'm super excited because I have with me in the studios our one and only Mrs. D. Tolulokpe Daudu. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Mamaj.
Happy to have you here today.
It's actually nice being here. Thank you.
Today we are going to be sharing with you 5 items that you should not leave in your check bag. But before we share them, we'll go on a short break. Welcome back. Today on our show, we are going to be sharing 5 items that you should not, we don't advise you leave in your check bags. The reality is that some travelers are not aware that they can actually fly and their bags will not make it with them to their destinations. So today, these items we are going to be sharing with you that you should not leave in your check bag will really come handy. So you stick around as we share with you. So Tolu, before we share the tips, I would like to share my personal experience. For me personally, I haven't experienced it. I almost did. My sister was having her wedding in Benin and I had the costumes for the bridal train.
Wow.
So I traveled to Benin and my 2 bags I checked in. By the time I got to Benin, my bags were nowhere to be found. And it happened to be the last flight for that day. So I started panicking. So I had to, the good thing was that I worked for the airline. So at least I had access to the baggage section. So I quickly called the guy in charge of the baggage section and I said, I can't find my bags. And he said, let me rush down to the check-in desk. And a few minutes later, he called and said, oh my dear, your 2 bags are here.
Wow.
I was like, wow, what do I do? And it happened to be our last flight to Benin. And the next day was the wedding.
Wow.
So I was like, what do I now do? He said, you know what, Mama, thank God. There's an airline that has the last flight to Benin. So I'm going to rush the 2 bags to the airline. And all you need to do is just wait at the airport. And then once the aircraft arrives, you go for your bags. Long story short, that was how I got my bags. So you can imagine the situation I would have found myself in. And it was a late flight, so it was like close to 6 p.m.
Wow.
on that day. So that was what I said. I almost experienced it. So to tell us, have you experienced it before? If yes, share with us.
Oh yes, I have. It's happened to me twice. And the first time was actually really hurtful because I was traveling to Geneva. Had to take a connecting flight and got to Amsterdam. And from Amsterdam, we now took the flight to Geneva. I got to Geneva, got off the airplane, went to the carousel to pick up my bag, and lo and behold, there was no bag. What's happening? So there were a couple of other passengers who were in the same fleet. So we walked down to the office and made a complaint. And they said, well, the bags were coming. The bags couldn't meet the flight because the flight was ready to depart, and our flight landed in Amsterdam a bit late, and they didn't want to delay the flight. And but anyway, I said, well, I can't come back here to pick up the bags. I'm going to the hotel, and they said they would bring the bags to the hotel, and I said, okay. So I left. I didn't make too much of a fuss. Went to the hotel, but it was very, very inconveniencing.
I can imagine. How did you
I
cope?
I couldn't change. I had flown overnight, and here I am in the hotel. I can't do anything. I can't go out to eat. And when you're pinching your pennies, you need to go outside the hotel to go and eat. You don't want to eat in the hotel and things like that. And I got to Geneva early in the morning. I had to wait until like 2, 3 o'clock before I got my bag. And I think it was a lesson that I learned that was okay. This is fine. Next time it's not going to happen to me. And it doesn't matter what you say, whether you're talking about your check, the baggage weight. I'm not going to give you. I'll make sure that I carry what I need, at least for the basic time, and that's it.
Wow. So it's not always an interesting experience to have to travel and then get to your destination. You can have access to even your toiletries. So it's not really a nice experience. So before we share the 5 items that you shouldn't leave in your check bags, first I would like to share 2 stories with you where I learned these lessons. I have not personally experienced it, but I was on a flight to Benin some years ago. I happened to be the purser of that flight. It was also to Benin, and it was this peak period, December period. People are traveling into Nigeria. Everybody, there are bags everywhere. In fact, we usually have excess baggage issues within those periods. And so that flight was delayed for almost 3 hours. So you can just imagine how the passengers were. Passengers were angry, they were pissed, So, and for us cabin crew members, we're always at the end of the chain, how passengers were treated whilst they were booking their tickets, from when they check in through the boarding gate. Whatever experiences they have, they take it on board. So we have to now manage it. Yeah. So it was not easy managing those passengers on that day. But anyways, eventually we took off. And when we were on descent into Benin, Captain now called me and said, Joy, please, you have to make an announcement to the passengers that some of them will not get their bags on arrival. I said, what, Captain? These passengers are going to rip us apart. Please. I think it's best for you to make the announcement. I think Captain actually assessed the situation and knew that it was best for him to make the announcement. So Captain went over the PA and made an announcement to the passengers that due to weight issues, we couldn't take all their bags, so some of them will not have their bags on arrival. The cabin was upside down. What? We can't have our bags? What is he saying? Anyway, we landed safely. And the moment we landed, they all rushed to the arrivals. And then a few minutes later, some of them were rushing back to the aircraft. And in such situations, normally if a flight is delayed, we also have inbound passengers who are also waiting that have been delayed. And in such situations, we usually just do a quick turnaround. We just board immediately and turn around the aircraft. And so Captain was like, let them board. And then there was this man that complained that he was in Benin for a training, and then he checked in all his training tools and everything, and he can't even find one. So he was like, so why am I in Benin? Honestly, I felt for him. But there was this set of women who were traveling together. They were sisters. They said they were actually going to Asaba. So they were not stopping in Benin. And they were even coming in from outside the country on their way to Asaba. Now, the keys to their house was left in the bags that they checked in, that was left in Lagos. So they were like, so how are they going to access their home? Now, they don't even have access to their properties, but at least they need the keys to their house. Now it's in Lagos, so how are they going to? They said we were going nowhere until they got their bags.
I can imagine.
And the irony of the whole thing was that there was no other flight for that day till the next day. And that was what Captain told them. So they said we were going nowhere. Initially, captain was bugaing. They should go down. They should call
His passenger.
AFSEC. They should bring in the passenger. They should call AFSEC. They should come and take them up the stairs. By the time they called AFSEC officials, by the time those ones even saw their body language, they knew that these ones, nothing will move them. They had to plead with them. Eventually, captain had to come down. The buga came down. He had to go down. They went to the radio room. They started to communicate with Lagos. Eventually, they had to go and put their bags in an airport cab to bring the bags to Benin until they confirmed that the cab was already on its way. That was when they now left us. They sat on the stairs. They said we're going nowhere. Eventually, we boarded and departed to Lagos. So I learned one lesson on that day. So on another occasion, this is a different airline now. We had a 7 a.m. flight to Port Harcourt, and as of 9:30 a.m. we're still on ground. Delay. I think that day was due to late arrival of fueling Bowser or something.
Wow.
So there was this very beautiful lady. She stepped into our office and said she was looking for the station manager. So and apparently the station manager had just stepped out of the office. So we're like, was there any way we could assist her? So she said that she's not well and she's on medications, and she had thought that the flight would have landed in Port Harcourt so she could access her drugs, because she has a certain time of the day that she needs to take her medications. So she wanted to talk to the station manager if he could help her retrieve her checked bag so she could access her drugs.
Poor woman.
So anyway, I had to go and hand her over to the station manager. But I knew that it was not going to be easy to just retrieve her bag. So I learned another lesson, which is going to make me share these two items that you should not leave in your check bag. One is your house keys. Don't leave it in your check bag. Leave it in your handbag or your backpack or whatever bag you are taking on board as you're carrying on. Don't leave it in your check bag just in case a situation like this occurs. Number two, your medications. We all know that from time to time we have people with different medical conditions, and they have drugs that have been prescribed for them to take at certain times of the day. So except they are liquids, if they are
Even if they're liquids, at least you can travel with, depending on the airline, at least
okay,
maximum of 100 ml. Anything above that, then you would have to check it.
check it in. If not, I will advise that you carry your medications in your person. Okay, so Tolu is going to run us through the other three.
All right. So first thing, next, your valuables. And we're talking about documentation, your passport. You could be going on a local flight and you feel that because it's a local flight, you don't need your passport, for instance, you throw it in your checked-in luggage. My dear brother, my dear sister, that's risky. Don't do it. Make sure that any important documents that you need, your credit cards, your bank cards, whatever, anything that's important, anything that you know that if it will go missing, it will take you time to get those things back. Please, please, please don't leave such items in your, don't send them, don't check them in. Just make sure that you put them in your carry-on, which comes on board with you so that you have access to them. You're traveling with jewelry. I'd also suggest keep your jewelry with you. Doesn't matter how much it is, you have to carry it in your handbag or what have you. Please make sure. And the reason is the airlines outsource a lot of things. So even if the airline does everything possible to keep your things safe, you cannot be 100% sure that some of those things won't be tampered with. And there are videos all over the place that show how people are actually robbing people of their items. So that's it. Your valuables, your documents, make sure that they're in your carry-on. Make sure also your valuables are in your carry-on. And then in addition to that, any other thing that you feel is very important to you. And I would suggest,
Like
especially
cash, Tolu.
yes,
Some people still carry cash.
exactly. So if you're traveling with uh, on a flight where you probably need to maybe you're going somewhere and you won't get back that same day, it's not a local flight or you're not ending up at home, please also make sure that you have a change of clothing and your toiletries in your bag. This is very, very, very important. It will save you a lot of embarrassment, even if you had a stopover somewhere, because emergency is not going to tell you when they're going to happen. When the aircraft has an issue, it's not going to tell you when it's going to happen. Just make sure that you have something to change into if there's a need for that. I tell you, it happens, and no airline really wants to delay you, but these things do happen. So please make sure your valuables, your documents, cash, these things are on your person or your carry-on. Let's make sure that we don't travel without these things. We don't check them in. It's very, very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Tolu. I'll just add even car keys, your car keys. We have people that do same day travel. They fly in the morning and they return back same day. There are times that sometimes they just feel that instead of having the driver to bring me to the airport and pick me up, why can't I just park in the airport and then once I arrive, I just pick my car and go. So imagine now leaving the car keys in your check bag and the bag does not make it with you on the flight. So what happens to your car at the airport? So it's advisable that something like your car keys should be in your carry-on bag. So that's it for the items we are sharing with you today that you should not leave in your check bag. We do hope you found these tips helpful. If you did, please make sure you share. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channels and all our social media platforms. Thank you for watching. See you again soon. From Tolulope Daudu, Mrs. D.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure being here.
And from Joy Ogbebo. Bye.